Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be. What's happening, friends? It's Dean from Electronisounds, and welcome to the Electronisounds Remix Contest 2025. All right, who we got in the chat? We got Point Two in the chat. We got Todd Longmire in the chat. We got Richard Lambeau in the chat. We got Rancid Poets in the chat. We got Sound of James in the chat. We got Gorgeous Roy in the chat. All right, we got Michael Van Putten in the chat. All right, what's happening, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. It's going to be a super fun stream today. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm going to turn my headphones up just a little bit there. All right. So about a month or two ago, maybe more like 2 months ago, I did a live stream and we started making a piece of music on the large Euro rack system over here. I then finished that track up off the stream, and I thought it was a pretty fun track, pretty vibey track, and I thought it might be a good opportunity to do a remix contest. So I posted a video with those samples, started this contest up. And it's a really wide open contest. There are no genre restrictions, there are no tempo restrictions, and the remixers are allowed to bring their own sounds to the table for this remix. The only real I don't want to say rule, but the only real, rule per se, was that they needed to make sure that you could hear the samples from the remix pack from the original track. We should be able to hear some of the samples from the pack in your mix. Hopefully, quite a few of the samples we should be able to hear in your mix. Because the point of this contest is that it's to see what, you can do creatively with these samples, not just write a new track and put a couple of the sounds from the pack in. All right, but let's jump into this, shall we? So today is the Remix Contest live stream where I'm going to play back all of the Remix Contest entries, and then we're going to announce the winners at the end of this stream. And the grand prize has been generously donated by IK Multimedia, and it's the Total Studio 5 Max bundle with over 70 plugins. This is a huge game changer, and I'm really hoping will help somebody, up their game to a whole new level. The second place prize today is going to be this KAOSS PAD kit that I purchased with my own money for the contest. So this contest is not sponsored by KORG, it's just sponsored by me, Electronisounds, and by IK Multimedia. The third place winner today is going to get their choice of any sound bank from my website, Electronisounds. All right, this is going to be a pretty long stream today. I'm thinking it's going to be about 3 to 4 hours. So grab yourself your favorite beverage. I've got a full cup of coffee here. And let's get started with the Electronisounds Remix Contest 2025 live stream. Yeah, all right. Big up yourselves in the chat. We've got like 27, I think, remixes to play through today. Lots of different styles and lots of different genres. But we're going to go ahead and start today by playing the original track that I made. All of the samples that everyone had to work with today are from this track right here. So let's go ahead and play it. All right. What's happening, John? What's happening, DJ Shade? What's happening, Sapro? What's happening, Eric? What's happening, Jan? Hey, I really appreciate you all being here. Let's have some fun. All right. This is the original track, DJ Prism. So these are where the samples came from that you all remixed. Big ups, Sapro. Big ups, point two. Expect us. Absolutely, Yan. It'll be on the channel. Right. So this is the original track that I put together, and all of the samples for this remix contest came from that track. I'm a little nervous that my voice is too low. Sometimes when I watch these streams back, my voice is actually really loud and much louder than the music. So if anyone is listening on actual monitors today, if you can let me know about the balance of the sound between my voice and the music, that'd be fantastic. And if anyone can let me know if we start distorting or anything like that during the stream, that would also be fantastic. Okay, so what we're doing today for the contest is I've loaded all of the tracks inside of this Ableton session. All of the remixes are in this session, and I've done my best to sort of even out the volumes for these tracks as well, so that I don't have to do quite as much fiddling behind the scenes during the stream. Again, we have quite a few remixes today, so this is probably going to be about a 3 to 4 hour stream. Grab some coffee. And what I'm going to do is, as I'm playing back the tracks, I'm just going to delete the tracks after I play them. And then we'll get down to the last few tracks at the end, and those will be the winning tracks. I am going to try to, go quickly and not just do a lot of talking on this stream, but there is going to be some talking for sure. I am going to read everybody's scores out during the stream. So like, this is a public event. Everyone's going to hear your music. Everyone's going to see your music being played back through these visualizers that I've got loaded in Ableton here. This is the FabFilter Pro Q3 equalizer on the left and the tonal balance control from iZotope on the right. I really love the tonal balance control plugin, and I cannot recommend that enough. I am 51. I'm going to be 52 in October, and my ears are absolutely not in the same condition that they used to be in. So I use this plugin no matter what I am creating, to make sure that my frequencies are falling in this spectrum here. What we've got is we've got basically, hope you can see that, okay. We want to get our frequencies basically about in the middle of this window right here, optimally, right? So like in a perfect world, we're not pushing too much high frequencies, we're not pushing too much low frequencies. So if we can get our tracks to rest in between these two, top and bottom lines here, then we know our frequencies are kind of on point. So we're going to hear all of the tracks today through this. So we're going to get a really good visual representation of the production quality of these tracks. Now, I do not have a running order per se. We're just going to try to vibe it out. And so I think the first track that we're going to play is going to be from DJ Jones. DJ Jones is a really prolific producer. He'll probably have 3 new remixes done by the time this live stream is over, if you get my drift. He's one of the most prolific producers I know. Let's check out his remix. Ladies and gentlemen, let's check out a remix from DJ Jones. Whoops, let me go ahead and turn this track on. That might help if we could actually hear the music. All right, cool. DJ Jones, everyone. Right on, Richard. Definitely hear a lot of the original samples here in the mix. That's really the only requirement, Obviously, we're going to be rating on other things than that, but that's really the most important thing, that you're hearing the samples from the original pack, and he absolutely nailed that here. That line here on the right, that's pretty dope. That's pretty nice right there. All right, DJ Jones, yes. Turn my headphones up a little bit. I'm vibing on this. A little percussion in the background is super dope. Yeah. super vibey here. Absolutely gorgeous, Roy. Yep, it's just a standard plugin that will load into any DAW. Hey, yellow. That cool percussion again. I wish that acid line came in sooner. That's super dope. Vibing it out for the outro. Take it away, DJ Jones. Yeah. Frequencies are on point right here. Good job, David. Yeah. Super cool vibey outro. All right, that's DJ Jones, everyone. Yeah, that's the stuff. All right. Okay, so I'm going to delete this remix from the session. All right. DJ Jones, you scored a total of 42 points out of a possible 50 points. We've got 5 categories that I am scoring all of the entries on, friends. I'm scoring on creativity and originality. Okay, I'm scoring on your production quality, so the mixing and the mastering. That's, again, one of the reasons why we have these visualizers up on the screen, so we can all see that production quality, right, and the frequency spectrum. Next, I'm judging on the use of the samples. So, can I hear the original samples in your track? Or did you just get cheeky, make a whole new track and drop like 1 or 2 samples in there real quick? Next up, I'm rating on the arrangement and the flow. So the flow of your track, And lastly, the overall vibe and just the impact of what you created. Like, so again, DJ Jones got a total of 42 out of 50. On creativity, you got an 8. On production quality and mixing and mastering, you got an 8.5. On the use of the samples, you got a 9, all right. On the arrangement and flow of your track, you got a 9, all right, well done. And on the overall vibe and impact, you got a 7.5 for a total of 42. All right, solid start to the show. All right, let's go ahead and play another one. Again, I did not start out with any sort of, I don't have an order in mind of how I'm going to play through these tracks. I'm just going to start whittling them down. I spent a lot of time doing the judging here. I really tried to get into your head as I was listening to the tracks back and try to, really understand the different vibes that you guys were trying to put down. Overall, I'm just completely blown away with the quality of these entries. You guys really did some amazing work. All right, let's check this one out. This is from, and I'm probably going to butcher a lot of names today, so I certainly apologize for that. This is from J.A. Magda, Job Magda, and here we go. Whoops. Oops, sorry about that. I'll get the hang of that in just a minute. Cool, here we go. You see just how deep that bass is right there. Maybe a little too deep. Oh, but the vibe on this is like through the roof, next level. Oh my God. We can see that there's kind of an issue with the high frequencies here as well. Yeah, sounding really dope on my headphones too, point two. The vibe here is off the charts. Oh. Oh. I love this airy, vibey break in the middle. This is so dope. When the full mix is going, the frequencies are pretty close. A little bit of tweaking would get these right in line. Yeah, super deep. Richard says deep, yeah. Total vibe here. I mean, it just washes over you. You know what I mean? Bit of ebb and flow there, some tension and release. You know I'm about that. Yeah, good driving music. I agree. Yeah, what you said there. Can definitely hear a lot of the samples from the original remix here. From the original track, rather. Can you guys hear my voice okay over the top of these tracks? Yeah, all about the ebb and flow. Thanks, Ken. I appreciate that, my friend. Thanks, Michael. headphones, my voice is so low, so I get worried sometimes. This is just so deep, and there's like some sort of phasery thing happening, which is just swirling, you know? Yeah, you got it, Richard. Thanks, guys. Super vibey. All right, let's hear it. Yeah. All right. So, again, I'm sorry if I'm not getting your names 100% correct, but Magda or Magda, you got a total score of 41.5 out of 50. For creativity, you scored a 9. For production quality and mixing and mastering, you scored an 8. Just a tiny little bit of, twiddle on some of those levels, and that would have been a higher score. The use of the samples, like can I hear the samples in your remix? Absolutely. You got an 8 there. On the arrangement and flow, you got an 8. I made a note here. Oh yeah, okay. I would have liked to have heard some more defined like sections in your track, as opposed to maybe like a 4 minutes solid without like a break or a lot of variation. So I just wrote down I would have liked to have heard maybe a little bit more well-defined sections of that track. Again, at the end of the day, you guys totally nailed it. These scores are all great. So please take my criticism as helpful, creative criticism, and it's coming from a place of love for sure. Um, Lastly, on the overall vibe and impact, you got an 8.5 out of 10. I really loved what you put together. All right, we are going to be doing a little bit of like, advice from your Uncle Dean along the way. And I think this is a good time to do the first bit of that. What I'd like to do is I'd like to kind of just remind everybody about some back to basics stuff here. And that is when it comes to labeling your work. You're going to spend, hours and, energy into your work. And when you finalize it and when you send it off, you really want to make sure that you're owning that. You're going to want to label your tracks with your artist name and then maybe a track title if you've got one, and then maybe what the track is for. So for this contest, it should say like, artist name, name of track, and then like Electronisounds remix contest or something. It shouldn't necessarily be called like my track or my project or, anything other than your artist name and then what the track is. And, I'm not just being, anal and getting down on you guys for stuff like that. It's really important that every time you send out your music, that your artist name is attached to that. Let's say you're sending a demo to a label, for example, and you don't label it properly, and that file just, is on somebody's hard drive now, mislabeled. And that guy may find that track a couple years from now and be like, man, this is hot. I got to contact this guy. But it says my track. So who would I even contact? You know what I mean? You're really not doing yourself any favors to not take that extra little bit of time and label your stuff properly every single time. Just a little bit of advice from your Uncle Dean. All right, let's move on and play another track, shall we? Again, there is no order to these. I'm not picking favorites or anything like that. We're just listening back through all of the remixes. And so let's go ahead and play another one. This one is from Ken Stant. Ken Stant, this is the Broken remix. Let's take it away, Ken. All right. Get it, Ken. What's happening? Rabbit Bat in the chat. Good to see you, my friend. You're safe, Fireflake. Yeah. Yeah, I like that kick too. Yeah. There's that cool band pass chord. All right. Bit heavy on those high frequencies there. Get it, Ken. Perfect world, we would pull those highs down a tiny bit at about 10K, and we might do a really subtle boost, you know, on a few of those tracks at about 3K to try to, you know, fill in those high frequencies and even that out a little bit. Cool remix, Ken Stant. I really appreciate you being a part of this. All right. Your score, my friend, is 37.5. For creativity and originality, you scored an 8. For production quality and mixing and mastering, you scored an 8. For the use of the samples in your track, you scored an 8.5. For the arrangement and the flow, you scored a 6. And for the overall vibe and impact of your track, you scored a 7 for a total of 37.5. I made some notes here. I wrote down dope underground vibe. I wish the kick dropped sooner. All right. Not a lot of critique there. Good work, Ken. Um, I think this is a good opportunity to maybe address another little tip from your Uncle Dean. Now that we're starting to see some of the frequency content on some of these remixes. Again, there's about 27 remixes here, so I spent, quite a bit of time going through these tracks, and there were three common problem areas between like a lot of the entries of this track of these tracks. And so I want to share those with you now. So if you're a producer and you're thinking, what can I invest my time into to up my game and to level up? These are the three things right here. These are the things that were consistently a little bit questionable between all of the remixes. They came up time and time again. So the most common issue was a little bit too much high frequency content. If you're working inside of a DAW, I really do recommend a plugin like this tonal balance control here so we can keep an eye on those frequencies. As we get older, our ears aren't quite as, sensitive to those high frequencies, and using a plugin like this can really make sure that we're not pushing too much high frequency content, which is very much likely to give your listeners ear fatigue, and you don't want that. And it's, will help us make sure we're not pushing too much bass, all that kind of stuff. So I really recommend this one. For those of you who've watched my streams for the last few years, you've probably seen me use this plugin quite a few times. Number two is the arrangement. A lot of these entries could use a little bit of love on the arrangement, where the arrangement isn't quite flowing as well as it could be. And lastly is transitions. And this sort of ties in with arrangement and is absolutely huge. Flow and arrangement and transitions are the things that, tell your listener where your track is going so they can be on the exact same page as you. We don't want to be like grooving along and then something comes, out of, left field and like kind of, herky jerks the listener when they're on the dance floor. We want it to be all very understandable to the listener. And that's where the arrangement and the transitions really, really help here. I remember I'll never forget, there was a time when I was really, really starting to focus on my transitions, and I was watching a lot of tutorials on how to get the most of that impact when you're going from like one, like a part A into a part B or a part C, and you really want to maximize the impact there, and again, not shock your listener. And there was a session that I'll just never forget. It was like 3 hours into it, and I hadn't written any music at all. All I was doing was just working this transition and learning how to, I'm adding high pass here, I'm getting a, riser here, I'm getting a downlifter at the other side. All of these things help your listener identify with the arrangement of your track and are just so, so important. So if you're looking to level up your productions, those are the things that all of you could really, really benefit from focusing on. Watching those frequencies, especially the high frequencies, arrangement techniques to get your tracks flowing a little bit better, and the transitions, again, to help your tracks flow a little bit better. All right. Let's see here. Let's play another track, shall we? Shut up, Dean, and get on with the show. Let's play a track from Robin Lavender, who is in the chat right now. Why isn't that? Because I want to... Can I... just want that to be a little bigger so we can see the track there. But if I bring this in, we don't see the track. Well, we'll just work with it. All right. Take it away, Robin. Robin Lavender, everyone. Ooh. Got
little too much low frequencies here. We could use a little bit of love in the mid frequencies on this one. Really use some love in the mid frequencies here. Oh! But the creativity is off the charts. Robin, come on! I'm hearing samples, you know, from the pack. This is a really original remix. Really well done, Robin. Okay, I'm so bad with names. So this is Sapro. This is you, Sapro? Fan-freaking-tastic, man. Vibes, vibes. Oh, that bass. It's so huge. It's a little bit too huge, but I love it. It sounds so deep on my headphones. I really like a loud snare and just pays out. Right? Yeah. Low frequencies could use a bit of taming here. So if anyone's phone is rumbling, that's why. Chat loving this one. Good job, man. I love that change. Woo! Fantastic work, my friend. Ugh, I love this track. Okay, so here's the deal. Robin, you scored 43.5, my friend. You were like this close from being one of the top placers. Keep up what you are doing. The vibes there are just next level dope. All right, for creativity and originality, you scored a 9.5. For production quality, mixing and mastering, you scored an 8. For use of the samples, you scored a 9. For the arrangement and flow, you scored an 8. And for the overall vibe and impact, you scored a 9. Hell yeah, for a total of 43.5. So close to placing in the top few submissions. In fact, this was so hard to judge because the scores were so close and just amazing entries from you guys. So I wrote down dope underground vibes in all caps here. I mean, just a phenomenal job on that remix. Can't say it enough. Okay, let's see here. What should we pick next? Why is that? I don't like. Is that being weird? Don't be weird. I thought that I could get. Oh, I see it. If I just maybe pick one closer to the top, then we can get the full view. We're talking computer 101. This guy's an idiot. Oh my goodness. All right, there we go. Cool. Let's check this out. This is an entry from Kane Kinetic, and he is a friend from the Facebook group Hardware Jams, who do a weekly challenge with hardware. If you have hardware and you need like a reason to get it out, turn it on, and crank out some dope mixes, be sure and check out the Hardware Jams Facebook group. They do a weekly challenge and give you a reason to, take part in making some music with a bunch of other people, like-minded people. Yeah, let's make sure I turn that on here. All right. Did I get everything sorted? Cool. Take it away, Kane Kinetic. There we go. Here we go. They could absolutely be hybrid, Todd. Oh, there's that bandpass pad again. Oh, I just left with one of my favorite sounds. Anyone who got that in like in a prevalent way, like kudos. Oh. Dope lead here. This is what I'm talking about. This is really what I'm talking about. You can hear the samples from the original track, but he's really taken this into his own direction here. Fantastic work. Kane Kinetic tearing it up. Yeah, Yan says the best so far. One thing I'd like you guys to notice here is is the way that the I keep trying to point at it like you can see what I'm pointing at, right? Is the way that the intensity level of the track looks here. We've got that, intro and this first drop, second drop, but look what happens after that. The level of intensity from about here to the end sort of drops down and doesn't maintain that same level of hard volume energy. Just something to keep in mind when you're, creating your tracks. Would love to hear that cool lead come up in volume here. And we can see that there's quite a bit of extraneous high frequencies as well. Maybe we could use a pretty solid boost in the mids here. But really, look at those highs over here. Right about here. That is extreme and really going to give your listener ear fatigue. Look at those high frequencies hitting right at 13K. It sounds fine to me, and it sounded fine when I played it on the speakers, but that's really why using a plugin like this tonal balance control can help you put out more polished tracks. So we've kind of lost a little bit of the intensity on the outro here. Yeah, sounds good on my headphones too, DJ Shade. I appreciate that, DJ Prism. I just want everybody to know that I'm coming from a place of love and helpfulness, hopefully. Hey, good to see you tuning in, Russ. What's happening, my friend? But see how we've kind of lost the spark and the momentum that we had a little bit earlier in this one? Yeah, long outro, says DJ Prism. Great sound design, though. That's why if we could have kept that volume and intensity the same, this would be like rated even higher. Oh. Yeah, a little bit low in volume now. All right. So that's Kane Kinetics entry, and I've got the score here. Kane, you scored a total of 42.5 out of 50. Your creativity and originality scored you a 9. The production quality and mixing and mastering scored you an 8. I made a note here. Levels could use a tiny bit of smoothing out. On the use of the samples, you scored a 9. Well done. I'm definitely able to hear some of the samples from the pack in there. On the arrangement and flow, you scored an 8. Good job there. And the overall vibe and impact was an 8.5 for a total of 42.5 points. And I wrote down, love the lead synths you added. All right, yeah, I do. We can see here that the intensity of that outro kind of drops off a bit. If there was a way that you could have maintained that level of intensity, your score would have been even higher. 42.5. Amazing job, and thank you so much for being a part of the contest. All right. Let's see here. Who's next? Let's do one of the shorter ones. This one is, and I'm, gonna say the name wrong because this is one of the ones where the name wasn't super clear on the submission. So apologies there, but this is Mavan Putt. I'm really sorry that I'm sure that's like a abbreviation of like your full name, and I'm not hip on that. So let's play this entry, everyone. Mavan Putt. Oops, I got to turn it on. Sorry about that. All right, take it away. Ooh. Yeah, that's you, Michael. Super brave to put in vocals. Good job. Yeah. So vibey. Yeah, what a vocal. Bit of an issue with those high frequencies, like I was saying. That's a common theme with these entries. Still those vocals are like next level amazing. If that's a vocalist you know, then do more work with her. Oh my gosh, that was incredible. Okay, so my friend, you scored a total of 35. For creativity and originality, you scored a 9. For production quality and mixing and mastering, you only scored a 6. There was some strange extreme panning issues going on that one. If you're listening on an iPhone, you're probably not hearing any of that, but if you're listening on studio monitors, the panning is a little bit problematic on this one. Unfortunately, for the use of the samples from the pack, you only scored a 4 because I didn't really hear a lot of the samples in there. It felt more like it was just an original track that you put together as opposed to a remix using the original samples. For arrangement and flow, you got an 8. Good job there. And then for the overall vibe and impact, you got an 8. Super cool track, and I really appreciate you being a part of the contest, my friend. All right. Hopefully that's a vocalist that you know and can work with some more, because those vocals were absolutely a standout, absolutely a standout. Okay, let's move on to the next entry. Hopefully I'm going fast enough, but not too fast. We've got a lot of entries to get through, my friends. Okay. All right. Okay, so this is the Canister Crew. Let me turn this on. Let's check it out. The next remix, Canister Crew. I want to turn the volume up, but we can see that it's going to get louder in a minute, so I'm not going to turn it up. I'm going to turn it up a little. What's happening, Mark? Thanks for tuning in, my friend. All right, hope you're doing well today. Ooh, you know I love those chords and stuff. Oh. I like the swing, you know, that really just shuffle here. Nice. Yeah, very clean. right there. Yeah, it would play out in a house set, absolutely. All right. I'm going to let that outro play out, and let's go over the score we got here. First off, I wrote super dope with 2 exclamation points. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I wrote the arrangement. I think that was for a different track. Yeah, so super dope is what I wrote. All right. I like that synth that you've added here. Yeah, cool arrangement on that. The Canister Crew, everyone. The Canister Crew. Okay, you got a total of 43. So, like, again, this close to the top spots, just great work on that. For creativity and originality, you scored a 9. For production quality and mixing and mastering, you scored an 8.5. Good job there. For the use of the samples, you scored a 9. I could definitely hear some of the samples from the pack in your track. And for the arrangement and flow, you scored an 8. And for the overall vibe and impact, you scored an 8.5 for a total of 43. Really great work there. Oh, okay, cool. Definitely going to play this one next. This is Dank Rollers, and this is a friend from the Facebook group, the Hardware Jams Facebook group as well. And I want to take a moment to give Dank Rollers here just some extra kudos, because this was made by feeding the samples into a Eurorack module. So this is going to be quite a bit of a different vibe than what we've been hearing so far. I really appreciate you taking the time to put in a track for this, my friend. Let's take a listen, everyone. Made with Eurorack. This one is something different. This is Dank Rollers. Let's check it out. It's not necessarily clippy DJ shake. It's just very distorted. I told you this one was a bit different, right? Yeah, almost an industrial feel, says Tony. Absolutely. Yeah, there's got intensify. Absolutely, right? Yeah, purposeful distortion indeed. Biggest of ups, my friend. I'm so glad that someone took the chance to create something with Eurorack and get that turned in. That's definitely something that inspires me about streams like this is just all of the different and extreme amounts of variety in all of these submissions. So that was Dank Rollers, ladies and gentlemen. You got a total score of 38 out of 50 for creativity and originality. Yeah, you got a 9. For production quality and mixing and mastering, you got an 8. For the use of the samples, you got a 7 because I would have liked to hear more of my samples in there. For the arrangement flow, you got a 7. And then for the overall vibe and impact, you got a 7. I did make a note here. Yeah, big ups for the Eurorack mix, my friend. I really appreciate you being a part of this. All right. Hey, real quick, if you haven't hit that like button yet, please slap that like, friends, so it will help feed the YouTube algorithms so that they'll share my content with more people who might enjoy this type of synthy content. Also, if you're not subscribed, please take a moment and subscribe to this channel. I've been working really hard to hit 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Help me make that happen, won't you? All right, let's do it. 10,000 subs before the end of the year. Let's go. Or 20,000 rather. 20,000 subs. Let's do this. All right, Dank Rollers, everyone. Let's just go ahead and make the next track, just alphabetical order, shall we? I'm going to say the name horribly wrong, I'm sure, and I'm sorry for that. This is Dan Techi, Dan Teka, Dan Teke. I'm really sorry for the horrible pronunciation of your name, and let's check out your remix. All right. If there's any way you could stay, Dara Scott, you might want to do that, my friend. Ooh, that's cool. Let's go. Totally different vibe on this. I love it. Yeah, kind of Slavic vibe. Do it, Fireflake. Do it.
Electronisounds presented. It's another one to refresh oneself. I hope you are relaxed so you can get an immense sound that is intended.
Really wish it dropped there. What's happening, Phil? Really cool remix. Thanks so much for being a part of this. For that remix, you scored a total of 42. Really nice work. For creativity and originality, you scored a 9. For production quality and mixing and mastering, you scored an 8.5. For use of the samples, you scored a 7.5, 7.5. Would have liked to have heard a couple more of the samples in there. For the arrangement and flow, you scored an 8.5. Good work there. And for the overall vibe and impact, you scored an 8.5 there as well. So I wrote a note here. Wow, love this. Great job at 42 points for that one. Thank you so much for being a part of the contest. All right, let's go ahead and hear what I put together at this time. Now, this is not an official entry or anything like that, but I wanted to, you know, put something together as well for this. I started the original track on a live stream, and so I started working on this remix on a live stream as well. So some of you may have been around while we started putting this one together. Let me go ahead and turn that track on, and this is how mine turned out. It's not rated here. It's not part of the contest officially. It's just something I put together. Let's check it out. Yep, I remixed my own track, DJ Shade. I worked really hard to get these high frequencies in line here. Clap is probably too loud here, breaking my jaw, right? Easy on the mids there. Alright, so there's my remix. Didn't want you guys to think that I'd be hosting a contest and not taking the time to remix it myself. So there we go. Let's just stay in alphabetical order for right now. I'm going to go ahead and play the next entry. This one is from DJ Prism. Let's go ahead and turn that track on and check it out. All right, DJ Prism, take it away. Starting off with that Prophet pad, you know, I love that. Got maybe a tiny little bit too much high frequencies. We might use a little boost in the mids, you know. Totally on point here. I mean, look at that brick. If we could just boost those mids and pull those highs down just a click. Oh. I often find that if the highs are a little bit too high, but you know the mids are a little too low, just by evening out those mid frequencies, you know, can help those high frequencies stand in line a little bit better as well. You see, there's quite a bit we could boost in the mids here. ending with that profit pad again. Oh, delicious work. Delicious. I think I've been forgetting to hit the applause, so sorry for anyone I did not applause your track. Let's get some extra applause going. All right. Big up yourselves in the chat. There's some really amazing work here, you guys. All right, DJ Prism, thank you so much for being a part of this. You got yourself a score of 43. You're just like this, not even this. Like, I can't even get the line small enough. You're like a hair off from the top spots. Amazing job. DJ Prism, for creativity and originality, you scored a 9. For the use of samples, you scored a 9. For the production quality and mixing and mastering, you scored an 8. For the arrangement and flow, you scored a 9. And for the overall impact, you scored an 8 for a total of 43. I made a note here. Stellar track. Could have a few more variations. Just amazing work, and thank you so much for being a part of the contest. All right, let's see here. All right, let's change the vibe up completely. Let's go with this one. This is from a friend who does some really amazing chilled and mellow music. Ladies and gentlemen, let's listen to Disco Phone. All right, let's take a listen. Oh, this is so lush. Little boost at the mids here to make this pop a little more. Really solid. keyboards with the big low rumble, just magical. That cool percussion from the pack. It's a really unique percussion sound. Thought it'd be easy to identify in the remixes, and it is. Oh, I got goosebumps over here. I just gotta take a breath for a sec. Oh, my friend, that was amazing. I absolutely love what you created there. Thank you so much for being a part of this. So, that was Discophone, ladies and gentlemen. If you like the vibe on that one, check out his performance on my latest electric showcase. He opened that show with another absolutely amazing performance. Really worried about my vocal level not not being loud enough. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Okay, so Discophone, you scored a total of 41 out of a possible 50. For creativity and originality, yeah, you scored a 9. For production quality and mixing and mastering, you scored an 8. For use of the samples, you only scored a 6 because I wanted to hear, more of the original sounds in there. For the arrangement and flow, you scored a 9. And for the overall vibe and impact, you scored a 9 as well, for a total of 41 points out of a possible 50 points. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of this. All right. I really appreciate it, my friend. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what Gorgeous Roy has brought to the table. Sorry, Roy. All right. Let me turn this track on. I want to offer a little bit of extra production advice to you, my friend. You could use a limiter on your tracks. If we could take a look at Gorgeous Roy's track here, we see the first half here doesn't have any issues as far as the levels are concerned. But when we get into the second half here, we're getting a little bit hot and we're doing a little bit of clipping as I zoom in there. A limiter would help you avoid that clipping and get a little bit smoother sound, my friend. Let's take a listen to this remix. Gorgeous Roy, everyone. Whoops, sorry about that. Let's hear it from the beginning. All right. I'm going to turn the beginning on this one up just a little. Vibey. definitely use a little bit of a boost here in the high mids, about 3K. I often have this exact same issue when I'm, producing. I need to go back and kind of EQ some stuff to fill in that gap in the 3K range. The vibe here is right up my alley. That kick hits really hard, but it's clipping a little bit. Limiter would fix that. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Phil. This has got some orb vibes to it all the way. Really well referenced there, Phil. Yeah, absolutely. There's that profit pad coming in. All right, Gorgeous Roy, everyone. Thank you so much for being a part of this, my friend. All right, let's take a look at your score. You scored yourself a total of 40 out of a possible 50. I made a note here, really original. Yeah, I love what you put together. For creativity and originality, yeah, you scored a 10, my friend. And for production quality and mixing and mastering, you scored a 7. As I already stated earlier, could definitely do with a limiter in your arsenal. Use of the samples, you scored an 8. Arrangement and flow, you scored an 8. And for the overall vibe and impact, you scored a 7 for a total of 40. All right, thanks again for being a part of this. Let's go ahead and change the vibe up completely and take a listen to what DJ Shade has brought to the table. Look at that sausage. Look at that brick. Oh my gosh, that's huge. Okay, boys and girls, let's take a listen to DJ. Oh, wait a minute. There's for Gorgeous Roy, everybody, and for the people before Gorgeous Roy that I keep forgetting to hit the applause for. Thanks again, everyone, for being a part of this, and thanks to you who are hanging out in the chat and bringing some awesome vibes during the stream. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's try that again. DJ Shade. Ah! Woo! Just enough time for a quick run to the bathroom. Give me 1 sec, I gotta pee. vocals are a little bit off the charts here. It's a total lifesaver for me, DJ Shade. I can't work without it. Absolutely. Really helps me keep those frequencies in line. This is what I mean about arrangement. I feel like we could have dropped, you know, this build is a little long maybe. All right, DJ Shade, everyone. Thank you so much for being a part of the contest, my friend. DJ Shade, you scored yourself a total of 34 for creativity and originality. You scored a 7 for production, quality, and mixing and mastering. You scored a 6. It was a little bit overdriven. If you just turn the master volume down a click, that could help with a little bit of that overdriven vibe. But I also know that a lot of producers are really into that overdriven vibe. And if that's the vibe you're going for, then you don't change a thing. Stick to your, vibe. For use of the samples in your track, you scored a 9. Good job there. For the arrangement and flow, you scored a 6. It could be a little bit more fleshed out. This is back to what I was talking about earlier with the transitions. There are so many different tutorials on different techniques for transitions on YouTube. I highly recommend that all of the remixers take some time and watch some videos specifically about different kinds of transitions, because learning those techniques can really help with your ebb and flow and your arrangement in your tracks. Okay, so for the arrangement, you scored a 6, and then for the overall vibe and impact, you scored a 6 as well. I did make a note here. I wrote absolute stomper mix and arrangement could use a little bit of love. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of the contest, DJ Shade. Let's see, who's next? Let's take a different direction, shall we? And there's some mention of this in the chat, just the amount of variety that we're getting with all of these different styles and genres. And this is really what I was hoping for in this contest. So really big up yourselves. Really appreciate all the different styles and the amount of work that you guys obviously put into creating these remixes. Okay, so this is Julie Arasa. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Let's take a listen to this one. I love this sort of Detroit vibe here. see a little bit heavy on the low frequencies here. Use a little bit of love in the mids and the highs. Hey, it's great to see you in the chat. Thanks for being here. All right.
Switch.
Vibes right here. Vibes. All right, fantastic. What a cool remix. You scored yourself a total of 35 points for creativity and originality. You scored a 9. For the production quality and the mixing and mastering, you scored a 6. The mix could use a little bit of love there. For the use of the samples in your track, you scored an 8. I could definitely hear some of the original samples from the pack. Good job. For the arrangement and flow, you scored a 6. Mix and arrange the arrangement could use a little bit of love. And for the overall vibe, you scored a 6 as well, for a total of 35. I did make some notes here. Great idea. Great ideas here. Just wish it was... What did I write there? I had hardly any room. Let's just go with great ideas here and leave it at that then. I really appreciate you being part of this. Thank you very much. And great to see you in the chat as well. Okay, let's see. Who's next? How about this one? This is JWM. Whoops. Turn that track on and let's give a listen. For those of you who might just be tuning in, this is a remix contest today where I'm playing back all of the entries that got submitted to a remix contest that I'm hosting. The grand prize of this contest is the Total Studio 5 Max Bundle from IK Multimedia with over 70 plugins. The second place winner is going to take home a KORG KAOSS PAD that I purchased to give away for this special, you know. And the third place winner is going to take home any sound bank of their choice from my website, Electronisounds. I actually have the KAOSS PAD right here, and I will be shipping this to the winner no matter where you are in the world. This is a brand new KAOSS PAD. Don't worry, even though it is a kit, it's supposed to be really easy to put together, and there's no soldering involved. One of the reasons that I chose this guy for the prize is that it runs off of USB power. So no matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to power it without like issues of plugs and stuff like that. All right, cool. So let's move forward. This is the JWM remix, everyone. Let's check it out. toms. Okay, I really love these toms. What you did with the toms is so cool. We can see the kick is a little bit extreme here in those low frequencies. So if your phone is shaking in your hand as you try to listen to this stream, that's why. Vibes on those toms just does it for me totally. Yeah, Sapro, right? So we could use a little bit of boost in the mid frequencies on this one. Maybe bring that kick back a tiny little bit with some EQ maybe. Ooh, that's juicy. That subtle transition there was super cool. And now we're kind of taking a little bit of a left turn. This is dope. The pitch bend that you got on this lead. Ooh, yeah. Give me the faithless vibes right here. That's what I'm talking about. Ooh. Would have liked to maybe have some hats come in here to help the momentum maybe. But I love that lead. I can't get no sleep. Right? That's it. Yo, Sibby, all right, thanks for coming around. What's up? Yeah, totally, DJ Shade. Happening yellow. All right, JWM. Why am I clapping? We can clap for JWM right here. All right. Well done, my friend. Thank you for being a part of this. I did make a note. I love the toms. That break. Oh, amazing stuff. You scored a total of 40 out of a possible 50. For creativity and originality, you scored an 8. For production quality and mixing and mastering, you scored an 8. For use of the samples, you scored a 7.5. For arrangement and flow, you scored an 8. And for overall vibe and impact, you scored an 8.5 for a total of 40. Love that track. Good job. And really, thanks for being a part of this. I really appreciate it. Uh-oh. What am I... What? Hmm? Oh, no, no, no. No errors, please. Come on. Why won't... What? No. Um... Doesn't want to let me delete that for some reason. I don't really feel like starting a whole bunch of tech here, so we're just going to let that go for now. And we're going to play the next track. And this is going to be the Yellow remix, my friend. All right, let's take a listen to what you brought to the table for this. And thank you for being a part of the show. Oh, nope, I'm totally frozen now. Don't worry, I'll get it sorted. What just happened there? Oh boy. So I'm having some technical difficulties here, and okay, that was interesting, and by interesting I mean oh boy. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna try to reload this set, so just bear with me, everyone. And no, I don't want to save. I'm not really sure what this nonsense is. Uh, if it, is really screwy, I can just try to reboot this computer, I suppose. But now what I want to do is try to go through here and delete the ones we've played. Oh gosh, but it's not letting me delete. Why are you being this way? And it's like I have a... Okay, I think I might need to just reboot because my computer is just being weird. It's like there's a key stuck down or something. You can... All right, let's just go ahead and do that. It's the only thing I can really think of to get us going again as fast as possible. So bear with me, everyone. And, oh man, let's try to get this sorted. Restart. Cool. Always fun having technical difficulties on a live stream. Bear with me, everyone. Now I'm spilling coffee on myself because that's always recommended. All right. This should seriously just take a sec, and we should be back in business. No, there's no autosave on that Zapro. I was just gonna, delete the tracks that as we played them. And now we just have to deal with a little bit of an issue here. The Mac is still rebooting, but we're getting there. All right. Thanks for your patience, everyone. And hopefully this will get us going. All right. So we've been streaming for about 2 hours. So we went 2 hours with no hiccups. That's not bad. All right. Thanks for your patience, everyone. We are almost there. Okay, we got Ableton open again. And I just want to see if I can go ahead and load that set then. The Remix Contest live stream set. It's a Mac. That explains it. Yeah, it is what it is. Okay. Oh, man. Okay, so who did I play already? I played this track, which is the original track. I played Canister Crew. I played Dank Rollers. I played Dan Tekka. I played Dean from Electronisounds. I played DJ Prism. I played DJ Jones. I played Discophone. I played DJ Shade. I played Gorgeous Roy and Jamagda and Julie Arasa and JWM and Kane Kinetic and Ken Stant and Mavan Putt and Robin Lavender. All right, we are back in there. What I need to do is just get our tonal balance back up and our Pro Q3 back up. Hey, not bad. Looks like we're back up and running, and I was going to play Yellow's track, and let's go ahead and do that at this time. We are back up and running. All right, let me just try to make that a little bigger. Cool. And same here. Can I do that? Whoop. Let's get that whole track in there. All right. Cool. Thanks for your patience, everyone. I can bring this back up to about here for now. No, we're missing the track if I do that. Okay. Turn that off. Okay, I think we're back in. Let's find out. Yeah, absolutely. Not bad. Take it away, Yellow. Little bit extreme on the highs here. Like that gated chord. Vibey break here. Percussion. Vibes right here are next level, man. All right. Oh, yellow, ladies and gentlemen. Well done, sir. Okay. Yellow, you earned yourself a total of 38.5 points out of 50. I did make a note here. Awesome vibes. Mix could use some love. So let's see here. For creativity and originality, you scored a 9. For production quality and mixing and mastering, you scored an 8. I did make a note there. Hats are a bit loud. For use of the samples, you scored a 6. I would have liked to have heard a little bit more of the sample material, make it into your finished track. For the arrangement and flow, you scored an 8. And for the overall vibe and impact, you scored a 7.5 for a total of 38.5. Good work, my friend. All right. Let's go ahead and take a completely different vibe next. This is my friend Tony Duncan, and he goes under the name Rancid Poets. And this is his entry. Thanks a lot for getting something turned in for this, Tony. Let's take a listen. Whoop.
Come on, ladies, play us a tasty lick.
Little bit heavy on the high frequencies here. love this here. Right here. Oh, yeah. That's sick. Woo! All right. Rancid Poets, everyone. Thank you so much for being a part of this, Tony, my friend. Let's see here. You scored a total of 36 for creativity and originality. You scored yourself a 9 for production quality and mixing and mastering. You scored a 6. I thought it was a little bit overdriven and kind of crushed sounding. For the use of the samples from the pack, you scored a 6. I would have liked to have heard some more of the sounds come through from the original pack. For the arrangement and flow, you scored yourself an 8. And for overall vibe and impact, you scored yourself a 7 for a total of 36. I did make a note here. Love the track. Can't hear the samples as much as I would like to, and a little bit overdriven. Looks like I may have just lost the camera. Oh boy, more tech stuff live. Cool. I will definitely get that sorted. And let's see here. Where should we go next? Let's go with Todd Longmire's track. Todd, I really appreciate you being a part of this. Let's take a listen, shall we? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Todd Longmire. Well, I try to sort this camera. Whoops. Let's try that again. There we go. Go, Todd.
You make art because something sacred happens when you do. It's not religious, it's not scientific logic, it's just sacred. You lose track of time, your hands move before your brain, something flows through you, and that's not just passion, it's presence.
Little heavy on the lows here.
You
Right.
come home to yourself, you confront who you are. Beneath all the noise and pressure and the mask. The mask. You become more you. So yeah, you make art, but not because it's easy, not because it always makes sense. You make it because your soul has to.
Just that pad. The band fast pad. Oh.
It's your protest, it's your prayer, it's your proof that you were here, that you lived, that you loved, that you suffered, and you wondered. And if all you do is just follow that truth, you just keep leaning into your urge to create, that's enough.
So the frequencies could use a little bit of love here, but the vibe is over the top delicious.
There have been moments while creating when I felt like I was connected to something larger than myself. Call it a flow state, call it source, call it a muse, call it whatever you want.
That acid line back
So
there.
yeah, you make art, but not because it's easy, not because it always makes sense. You make it because your soul has to. It's your protest, it's your prayer, it's your proof that you were here, that you lived, that you loved, that you suffered, and you wondered. And if all you do is just follow that truth, you just keep leaning into your urge to create, that's enough.
Well done, Todd. Oh, love the vibe that you put together on that one. Let's see here. My friend, you scored a 41.5 out of 50. I did make a note here. Absolute masterpiece. Jiggle of the mix is all you need. Okay, so for creativity and originality, yeah, you scored a 9.5. For the production quality and the mixing and mastering, you scored a 6. Mix needs a little bit of love. Sorry about that. Yeah, 6 needs a little bit. Okay, and then the use of the samples, you scored a 9. Good use of the samples there. For the arrangement and flow, you also scored a 9. Good work. And then for the overall vibe and impact, you scored an 8 for a total of 41.5. Just need a tiny jiggle of that mix, and that's an absolutely amazing track, my friend. Thank you very much for being a part of this talk. All right. All right. We've only got, a few more left here. I really like this one. Let me play this one for you next. This is Nick Culbertson, and I hope I'm not screwing anything up by saying that this his YouTube handle is Moby Pixel, and he's a friend of mine. And I listened to this entry, and I thought, wow, that's a really great entry. But I'm not hearing like a ton of my samples in there per se. So I sent him an email, and I'm like, great work. I'm not really hearing a ton of my samples. And he actually took the time to render out the skeleton of this track, which surprisingly enough, out of all the sounds you hear, the skeleton of this track is entirely the samples for the pack. So a really, really interesting remix here. I believe he did this on an iPad as well. Ladies and gentlemen, take it away. Enjoy Nick Culbertson, Moby Pixel. Let's hear it, my friend. Vibes. This is like baby making music. This is sexy, you know what I'm saying? You really nailed this one, bro. Hey, what's happening, Kane? like changes of the chords here, just delicious. Definitely use a little bit of love on the high frequency content, or even a tilt EQ on the master, just to boost those highs and pull down those lows a little. So what do you think, friends? Are you hearing samples from the pack underneath this? Because I kind of am not. But if you remove all of the top elements that he added, it's all samples from the pack underneath here. It's just next level, really. Yes, Kane. Just using it as a visualizer today. There's no like EQ actually happening per se. There's that bandpass pad. I don't want that to end. Nick, that's just absolutely amazing. And I have this distinct advantage of having heard that skeleton underneath, which is just, I can't stress this enough, which is all entirely the sounds from the pack. Really good job there. I wasn't prepared with the score, so sorry about that. Oh, let's get a little bit of hype going. All right. Nick, you scored yourself a total of 42.5. Again, these scores, you're just like this far from the final round as we start to really get down with the remaining entries here. I did make a note, classy and lush, absolutely love it. Nick, you scored yourself a 9.5 for creativity and originality. Yeah, absolutely. For the production quality, you scored an 8. Mix could have used a little bit of love there. For the use of the samples, you got a 7. I would have liked to have been able to hear a little more of those in the final mix, but having heard your skeleton, that's just a fantastic job. The arrangement and flow got you a score of 9, and the overall vibe and impact, yeah, that's right, got you a score of 9 for a total of 42.5. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of this. The variety on these entries is just stunning. You guys did just absolutely incredible work. There's not any clangers in here, you know what I mean? This has just been a blast. Let's go ahead and bring up the sound of James at this time. This is a vibey entry. And this is a friend from the Drum and Bass Cantina from the Clown Army. Really appreciate you taking the time to get something made for this, my friend. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the sound of James. Take it away. A gentle boost of these mid frequencies for sure. Oh, there's that band fast pad again. Oh, yeah. Oh, this is vibey. Oh, friggin' deep. I like that percussion in the background there too. Dope gating on the pad here. I'd like to hear that house mix, Kane. That percussion again. That little snare in there from a break or something. It's just sick. Oh, sick. And fast pad. Yeah, weighty, totally. Hell yeah. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of this, my friend. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, you got yourself a score of 42. Let's see, I did make a note. I wrote, yes! Mix could use a little love. Let's see, for creativity and originality, you scored yourself a 9. And for the production quality, mixing and mastering, you scored yourself an 8. I wrote down a note here, warp mode issues. I think you're producing in Ableton, and I think you might be relatively new to producing in Ableton. And I wanted to make sure that you're aware that there are different warp modes for your sounds inside of Ableton. I don't know if I can really, I'm probably not going to be able to just show that right now, but it defaults to a warp mode called Beats mode, which sort of chops up your samples. But there are other modes in there as well that might work a little better for chopping up and stretching out melodic content. I just want to, give a shout out and say, dig into those warp modes. You might find some of the algorithms in those warp modes are better than others when you're changing the tempo of your samples. Okay, so your score. Did I read that out already? Yeah, so originality and creativity was a 9. The production quality was an 8. The use of samples was a 9. Good job. I was able to hear a lot of the samples from the pack there. The arrangement and flow was an 8. And the overall vibe and impact was an 8 for a total of 42. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Let's see. Where should we go next? I think we're going to go with Surreal 80 next. Let's see. Cool. All right. To make sure that track is on. And let's check it out. Surreal 80, everyone. Cool. All right. Surreal 8-0, everyone. I really appreciate you getting the track in, my friend. All right, let's see how we did with the scoring on that one. You got yourself a total of 42.5, really close to that those top spots. We got creativity and originality. You scored yourself a 9. For production quality and mixing and mastering, you got an 8.5. For the use of the samples, you got a 7. I would have liked to have heard some more of the samples from the back in there. For the arrangement and flow, you got a 9. And for the overall impact, you got a 9 for a total of 42.5. I did make a note here, super dope. Arrangement love would help it flow. All right. Let's see here. Where are we going to go next? I think we're going to go with point 2 next. All right. Make sure that, whoops. All right, everyone, check it out. It's point 2. Somebody you might think would drop a drum and bass mix, but he didn't. Let's see what he did drop. That was really well done, mate. Ooh, love that. So, point two's frequencies are pretty well in line there, as you might have seen. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. He uses the tonal balance control plugin. It's one of the reasons why his music sounds so good. Just a little tip from your Uncle Dean. All right. Oh, good stuff. Whew. I really appreciate you getting something made for that, my friend. Love what you put together. This is what your score looks like. You got a 42 out of a possible 50. I made a note here. Huge and deep. Clap is a little extreme. On the creativity and originality, you scored yourself a 9. On the production quality and mixing and mastering, you also scored a 9. On the use of the samples, yep, you scored yourself a 9. On the arrangement and flow, you scored a 7. I wrote down here the transitions could use a little love. And the overall vibe and impact, I wrote down 8 here. So for a total of 42. Really good work, my friend, and super vibey stuff there. All right. For those of you who don't know, Point 2 is a drum and bass producer. So for him to get that close to hitting like a stellar dub techno vibe as a drum and bass producer, that's 2 thumbs up, my friend. Absolutely. Okay, let's move on to the next remix. We've been streaming for almost 3 hours here. We had a couple of hiccups, but we got through those okay. I appreciate those of you who are still hanging out on the stream. Please remember to hit that like and subscribe to the channel because it really helps support the channel. And supporting your homies is a cool thing to do. All right, let's check out Rodur, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I'm saying that right. Rodur. Yeah. Ooh, this is my favorite part right here. Nailed that. That is sick. I would have loved to hear that transition into something huge. go with that. I just love this. Little heavy on the highs here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being a part of this. Rodur, you scored yourself 40.5 out of a possible 50. I wrote down vibes for days. Let's see here. For creativity and originality, you scored yourself a 9. For production quality and mixing and mastering, you scored yourself an 8.5. For use of the samples, you scored yourself an 8. Good job. For arrangement and flow, you scored a 7. I wrote down transitions. So maybe you could use a little bit more love on your transition work. And then overall vibe and impact was an 8 for a total of 40.5. Definitely vibes for days. Okay. We have reached a very special point in the stream. We have 5 submissions left, and each of these submissions is a winner of the top positions. We have a 3-way tie for 3rd place, and that's what we're going to get into right now. Okay, let's start with this one. So the next 3 submissions are all getting their choice of a free sound bank or sound pack from my website Electronisounds. Whoops, just trying to get that track up there. Big ups to everybody who took the time to get a track submitted. Big up to everyone who's been hanging out in the chat through the stream and bringing the awesome vibes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is KAOSS. This is a tie for 3rd place. We have a 3-way tie for 3rd place. So KAOSS, you are going to get your choice of sound bank or sound pack from electronisounds.com, my website. Let's take a listen to this awesome entry.
Dans les cages avant des... Dans les cages avant des... cages avant de dans les 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 cages avant de
All right. Outcause, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that is a tie for third place. I feel like my mic is just a little bit quiet. Is that any better? Hopefully. Check one. All right. Let's take a look at this score. We got a score of 44. Really well done. 44 out of 50. I did make a note here. Vibes for days, but high end? Question mark. Let's see here. Creativity and originality. You scored yourself a 9. For the production quality and mixing and mastering, you scored yourself an 8. I wrote down maybe a tad too crispy on the hats, and it was just a tad too crispy on the high end. I wrote down use of samples. That was a 9. I could definitely hear the samples from the pack there. For the arrangement and flow, you scored yourself a 9. That was really well done. And then for the overall vibe and impact, you also scored a 9 for a total of 44. So Outcause, that's earned you a free sample pack or sound bank from my website, Electronisounds.com. If you pick something out, you can just shoot me an email at junebug@electronisounds.com, and we'll get you sorted with a free pack. All right, we've got 4 entries left to go. Make sure you've hit that like button, my friends, so that YouTube will share the stream. Okay, this next entry is a really special entry. This is from John Whaley, and he's in the chat right now. This is Big John UK, and this submission is absolutely next level and really special. He made this on an iPad, and he wrote down like specifically how he processed the sounds, and it is like an absolute deep sound design journey that he went through to get to this destination. And this is the longest entry, and it's an extreme ride, and I hope you enjoy taking this ride with me, my friends. This is John Whaley, Big John UK in the chat, and big ups to you, my friend. This is just next level. This is a tie for 3rd place. Thanks for getting something submitted, John. All right. This is a journey. John, my friend, that was an absolutely amazing journey. This sort of just like reminds me of like when you might have found like a bonus hidden white label 12-inch like back in the day, right? And be like, what's on this, right? And just take this complete sonic journey. Oh, John, this is just amazing work. I really appreciate you being a part of this contest, my friend. You scored yourself 44 out of a possible 50, tied for third place. I made a note here, next level. I absolutely love this journey. For creativity and originality, yeah, you scored yourself a 10, my friend. For production quality and mixing and mastering, you got an 8. For use of the samples, you got a 9. We could definitely hear the samples there. For the arrangement and flow, you got an 8. For the overall vibe and impact, you got a 9. For a total of 44, tied for third place. So you can take your pick of any sound bank or sample pack from my website if you would like, and just send me an email at junebug@electronisounds.com, and we will get you sorted, my friend. All right. We have got 3 entries left. This next entry is a tie for third place. And this is a very different entry than what we have heard so far. And I'm going to pronounce this name probably incorrectly, but this is Weki, I'm not even going to try further. I'm sorry that I don't know exactly how to say that, but this remix is absolutely next level, and I think you guys in the chat will agree. Let me know what you think. Let's take a listen. Turning my headphones up. Come on. Let's go. Oh, I love that. Okay, so that was Weki. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name, but you absolutely nailed it. That was magical, man. That was a score of 44 out of a possible 50. You tied for third place, which earns you any free sample pack or sound bank from my website, electronisounds.com. You can just shoot me an email at junebug@electronisounds.com, and we'll get you sorted. Thank you so much for being a part of this. You scored yourself a 10 for creativity and originality. Absolutely. You got yourself a 9 for the production quality and mixing and mastering. For the use of the samples, you got a 7. I would have liked to have heard a few more, of my sounds in there because, that was hot. And of course, I want my stuff to sound hot. Oh, it was good. For the arrangement and flow, you got yourself a 9. Those build-ups and the drops were absolutely on point. I'm sure you all agree with me in the chat. That was fire. Overall vibe and impact, you got yourself a 9. That's a 44 out of a possible 50. Absolutely amazing production. I got hearts written down all over this. Okay. Let me just take a quick breath here. We're down to the final 2 tracks. We've got a second place. That's right, and we've got a first place. Now, before I play these tracks, I want to take a moment and do a quick aside to these producers. This was so hard to judge this contest. I spent a lot of time getting into these tracks. The thing is that if I'm not mistaken, Dara Scott is these are the last 2 entries. We've got Dara Scott and we've got Fireflake. Congratulations to both of you. You absolutely knocked it right out of the park. I'm not sure that Dara Scott's in the chat. I think he had to go. So let me talk to you directly, Fireflake. If I'm not mistaken, you're an in-the-box producer and not a hardware producer. If you could just verify for me that in the chat, I'd really appreciate that. Because what we've got here is we've got a second place and a first place winner. Just want to remind you guys that the grand prize is a plug-in bundle, the Total Studio 5 Max from IK Multimedia. So this wouldn't be necessarily a very helpful prize for someone who produces with hardware, for example. And then the second place prize here, this KAOSS pad, wouldn't necessarily be a super great prize for someone who produces in the box specifically. So yeah, Fireflake is in the box. And I'm pretty sure that Dara Scott is a hardware producer. The thing is that Fireflake, you have taken second place. Congratulations, which earns you the KAOSS pad kit. But as a software producer, I'm not really sure how relevant this would be to you and your setup. And that leaves Dara Scott with the Total Studio 5 Max bundle. But if I'm not mistaken, he's a hardware producer and probably wouldn't have a lot of use for those plugins. I'm not 100% sure on that, and this is why I wanted to kind of talk to you guys in the chat. We got Fireflake says, I'll take that. So that earns you, my friend, the KAOSS pad kit, and I will happily mail this anywhere in the world to you. I really appreciate you being a part of this, and we're going to jump into this. These are the final 2. I'm getting goosebumps already. These are so amazing. These entries are just phenomenal. We're going to go ahead and play the number 2 entry at this time, the number 2 winner, and this is Fireflake. You absolutely took it to a whole nother level, my friend, and I really appreciate you being a part of this. All right. Ladies and gentlemen in the chat, please give the kind of love that I know you can give to Fireflake. though. Oh, yeah. That was incredible, my friend. If you can just contact me with your address, I will get your KAOSS pad shipped out immediately, my friend. And I hope that you can, make some use out of that. I really appreciate you taking the time, and you can tell there was a lot of hours and a lot of love put into that mix. Thank you so much. You scored yourself a total of 44.5 out of a possible 50. Amazing score. I wrote down sick. I love it. Fireflake, you got yourself a score of 9.5 for creativity and originality. Absolutely. You got yourself an 8 for production quality and mixing and mastering. You got yourself a 9 for using the samples. You got yourself a 9 for the arrangement and the flow. And lastly, you got yourself a 9 for the overall vibe and impact, for a total of 44.5, earning you second place today. Just want to take another moment and thank everyone who took the time to put some tracks in. This was a lot of amazing content that you guys put together. Helped me create this really fun stream. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to everybody who took the time to get something created and submitted. We wouldn't have a show without you. Okay, here we have it. This is it, folks. He had to leave the stream a while ago, but this is Darius Scott, and he produced a demo for me for a drum and bass pack on the Digitact last year. So absolutely big ups for that. And this track is absolutely next level. I'm sure you will agree with me. This is taking the #1 spot. So Darius Scott, if you just contact me, we will get you hooked up with the, let's just put it back on the screen here, the grand prize, which is the IK Multimedia Total Studio 5 Mac Bundle with over 70 plugins. I hope this will level up your game, and I hope you can find some use for this in your workflow, my friend. All right, let's take a listen, friends. And I really appreciate everybody hanging out for this. I know this has been a pretty long stream. We're almost 3.5 hours now. So thanks a lot for everyone for being here and making the chat a super fun place to hang out. Let's take a listen. The #1 track, everyone, Darius Scott. Fast, fast. Whoo, Dara Scott, my friend, that was incredible. I wrote down here, holy F, epic work. That was just amazing. That's really only a .1 difference in the score between that one and the second place winners. You guys just absolutely nailed it. Dara Scott, your scores, my friend, for creativity and originality, you scored yourself a 9. For production quality and mixing and mastering, you scored yourself at 8.5. For use of samples, yeah, that was a 9. For arrangement flow, yeah, that was a 9. And for overall vibe and impact, that was a 9.1. Earning you a total score of 44.6, my friend. All you need to do is shoot me an email at junebug@electronisounds.com, and we will get you sorted with your grand prize. I hope you can use this in your productions, and I hope maybe we can get your game a little bit leveled up today. Wow. I'm just blown away. What an amazing stream. We had so much variety. Everything from, down-tempo excursions to full-on Euro rack journeys and drum and bass and house and dub techno and ambient. And I really appreciate everyone who took the time to get something made for this. Thanks again to everyone in the chat for making this a super fun and, inviting stream. I don't want to go. I wanted to play more music, but I don't have any more music. This has been a really long stream, almost 4 hours. We went 3 hours and 40 minutes today. Whew. All right. Be sure and hit that like button. Be sure and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And until next time, my friends, take care of each other, everyone. Take care of each other. Big ups. Big ups and much love, you guys. We'll see you next time. Yeah.